Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Acupuncture's My Life. I'm going to continue my discussion with food or on foods that trigger anxiety attacks because I've received an overwhelming response on the Acupuncture's My Life app questioning why some of the foods in which I discussed trigger, and how can they didn't, many individuals are unaware of that. How can they trigger anxiety attacks? And for those who may have listened to the first podcast on this subject and don't remember, I discussed foods such as cookies, pies, candy, cakes, sugary drinks, cheese, even ready-made meals, processed meats, coffee, energy drinks, alcohol, fruit or vegetable smoothies that have a high glycemic index. That's the important part, is the glycemic index. Gluten, artificial sweeteners, hidden sugars, as well as processed vegetable oils. Those are the foods that I discussed, and there were a few individuals, not a lot, not a great deal, that messaged Acupuncture's My Life concerned about some of the foods, especially the fruit and vegetable smoothies. How do they trigger anxiety attack? And I'm going to discuss that. That's important. And if you don't already have the Acupuncture's My Life app, simply download it. It's free. If you're an iPhone user, the Apple Store. And if you're an Android user, it's the Google Play Store. And also, I wanted to remind you, we'll be doing a part 2 of anxiety, but it's also going to include hair loss as well on the Acupuncture's My Life TV. And it's streaming on Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Android TV, as well as iPhone and Android devices. So if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, you can also go to either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store and just download Acupuncture's My Life TV. And you can watch it from your phone as well. But part 2 is going to discuss certain foods to stay away from. And it's going to be really detailed. And it's also going to include an in-depth discussion on hair loss as a result of anxiety as a disorder, which should surprise many individuals. And we'll have a trichologist on the panel of experts. And a trichologist specializes in diseases of the hair and scalp, diseases and various disorders. So it should be a great episode. That episode should air, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on December 18th, but part 1 is already showing on the Acupuncture's My Life channel or Acupuncture's My Life TV. But back to these foods. Because many individuals love certain pies and cookies and cakes. But you have to keep in mind, these types of foods are high in sugar, and it spikes your blood sugar. And it's heavily tied to triggering anxiety. So you want to avoid these foods that are going to create a spike in your blood sugar. You want something sweet? Again, I'll say it. Blueberries, peaches, plums, nectarines, cherries. It's just an example of a healthy way of attaining sweets, eating sweets. instead of like cakes and cookies that you're buying out of your local supermarket or whatever. Another is sugary drinks, such as, these colorful fruit juices or soda. Again, loaded with sugar, which isn't good, and it can trigger anxiety attack. It can trigger that jumpy, sort of wired up, anxious sensation in a person. Another is like these ready-made meals. You ever see advertisements on, oh yeah, buy your ready-made meal, it just looks so delicious, like a chef just made it, and then you purchase it, it looks nothing like that. Or some fad diet program where buy the meals from them, it'll guarantee a certain calorie count and no more. These ready-made meals are not good for you. Cheese isn't good. Processed meats aren't good, such as bacon, hot dogs, sandwich meat. Because these types of foods are associated with inflammation, which tends to produce anxiety. There's no fiber in these kinds of foods, and it tends to disturb a person's gut microbiome, like I said in the previous podcast. Because you see, your gut microbiome is a diverse mix of microorganisms that reside in the gut. And if you have a healthy gut microbiome, it assists with proper function of the body and a clear mind as well. Now, you may also want to avoid coffee and energy drinks. And I'm after the last episode, I got the usuals that sent over a message on the Acupuncture is My Life app stating they're not going to get rid of the coffee. You have to understand, coffee contains caffeine, and so does these energy drinks. And caffeine tends to increase anxiety. And the more caffeine you consume, the more likely you're going to trigger an anxiety episode. Why? Because caffeine tends to activate adenosine receptors in the peripheral nervous system as well as the central nervous system. And those receptors are responsible for mediating the body's fight or flight response. So it determines whether you're going to be in a sympathetic state of existence or parasympathetic. Parasympathetic being relaxed and just laid back, and you could properly digest food and rest. Where sympathetic, you're just going, you're revved up. You could run away from a bear or a tiger or something, or you're ready to fight a shark. You don't want to be in that state of existence outside of an extreme emergency. Now, another is alcohol. Okay? And there are individuals that, feel, if I drink alcohol, it's going to calm me down. Alcohol is actually a depressant. And alcohol tends to affect a person's sleep. You're going to wake up earlier than you should. You may wake up in the middle of the night. Why? Because now the blood sugar from the alcohol is spiking. And if you drink alcohol on an empty stomach, forget about it. And alcohol is known to dehydrate you, because do you ever notice you go to the bathroom a lot to urinate when you're drinking? Yes. And guess what? Hangover symptoms can also lead to anxiety. And many individuals are unaware that hangover symptoms like dehydration, poor sleep, depletion of vitamin B vitamins, or vitamin B, or the different types of B vitamins, I should say, along with the alcohol detox process of the liver and kidneys. This can leave you feeling anxious as well as worried. Think about that. If you ever, I'm afraid to say when you have your next drink, because I'm saying stop, don't drink. So I don't want you to go have a drink just to think about what I'm saying. Now, the biggest response was from the fruit and vegetable smoothies. And a lot of times, many times these fruit smoothies, they don't contain protein. And it's going to cause your blood sugar to spike and then boom, drop, which can lead to anxiety, can trigger anxiety. So you may want to add some protein to your fruit smoothies, such as, let's say, peanut butter, organic peanut butter or raw eggs, to decrease the potential for sugar spikes. Now, another where individuals were upset on the Acupuncture's My Life app was artificial sweeteners. And these are these drinks that you see that have like sugar-free blaring all over it. You see these artificial sweeteners, these drinks that have artificial sweeteners in it, tend to create or be tied to neuropsychiatric problems, which includes anxiety. Room temperature water, organic tea, if you need a sweetener, organic honey, or even a cinnamon stick. Okay? It's very important. Another is gluten. And I'm going to recommend you sit, because this is a little complex. And gluten isn't totally bad for you. But there are many individuals that cannot tolerate gluten. So you want to sit with an acupuncturist, allow him or her to assess your constitution, and make a recommendation when it comes to gluten. And also, many individuals are unaware that many foods contain hidden sugars, added refined sugars, salad dressings, tomato sauce, ketchup. These foods trigger anxiety, and many individuals are unaware of it, totally unaware of it. And another you want to be careful of are processed vegetable oils. And you'll find these types of oils used a lot in fast food restaurants. You ever eat fast food and you just get this jittery feeling, and it's like, ugh, you know it happens, but you're not connecting it to that garbage that you just ate. And a lot of these foods are cooked with corn oil or soybean oil that can trigger or worsen the symptoms of anxiety, among other things. Ingesting corn oil and soybean oil, do your homework on that. You don't want to touch those. So when you feel you're getting your delicious French fries or your delicious fried chicken or onion rings or whatever from a fast food place, 10 times out of 10, it was cooked with either soybean oil or corn oil. If you want to learn more about anxiety as a disorder, again, I recommend you watch the Acupuncture's My Life channel or Acupuncture TV, streaming on Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Android TV, as well as iPhone and Android devices, to learn more as to how chronic anxiety can lead to disease. But other than that, I really want you guys to make acupuncture a part of your life. Because acupuncture is my life. What's yours?